The airplane cabin thrummed with a relentless drone of engines, a world of unfamiliar sensations for a 6-year-old boy perched in a window seat. The oversized gray suit jacket swallowed his small frame, its frayed cuffs brushing his knuckles. The scent of packaged meals and the pinch of a seatbelt felt alien, but he didn't utter a word of complaint. His legs dangled above the floor, his wide eyes tracing the clouds beyond the glass. Orphaned after his grandmother's sudden passing, he was alone, sent across the country by a charity to a foster family he'd never met. A scribbled name on a folder was his only anchor. To the other passengers, he was invisible, a quiet child, easy to overlook. 3 hours into the flight, the cabin's calm shattered. A soft thud, then a heavier one. Drew gasps. An elderly woman, her silver hair streaked with gold, had collapsed in her seat, her face ashen, lips parted. The man beside her froze. "Ma'am." No response. A woman across the aisle stifled a cry. "She's not breathing." Panic rippled through the plane. A flight attendant in a navy blazer rushed forward, her voice sharp. "Is there a doctor?" Heads turned, but no one stepped up. Passengers exchanged helpless glances. One man sank back into his seat. Another fumbled with his phone. A young woman covered her mouth in shock. The attendant struggled with an oxygen mask, her hands trembling. "Please, someone," she's not responding. Then a small voice cut through the chaos. "I can help." Head swiveled, eyes wide with disbelief. The boy, tears streaming down his face, was already running down the aisle, weaving past outstretched arms and scattered bags. He'd never been taught CPR, only glimpsed it once on a flickering shelter TV. But instinct drove him. Climbing onto the seat, he knelt beside the woman, his tiny hands pressing her chest. "Please don't go," he whispered, his voice breaking. His arms shook, his face crumpled with effort. "Wake up, please." The cabin fell silent, every soul transfixed by a child daring to save a stranger when no one else would. The attendant stood frozen. The man beside the woman looked lost. The boy pressed on, sobbing, "I don't know you, but you can't leave." He'd lost too much already. His mother, his grandmother, his sense of home. He couldn't bear another absence. Then a miracle. The woman's eyes fluttered. A faint cough broke free. Then another. The cabin erupted. Claps, gasps, tears. "She's breathing," the attendant cried. But the boy didn't move. His chest heaved, his small hands red, his gaze locked on her face, as if she might fade if he looked away. He'd saved her, not with skill, but with a heart that refused to let go. Weakly, the woman turned her head, her eyes meeting his. Tears shimmered in both their gazes, a silent bond forming in the chaos. The crew rushed in with medical kits and radios, but the boy cared only for the rise and fall of her chest. The plane made an emergency landing, and paramedics swarmed, their voices steady as they whisked her onto a stretcher. Yet she kept murmuring, "Bring the boy." At the terminal, he sat alone, clutching the edge of a chair, his jacket still damp with sweat. "She's asking for you," an attendant said softly. He nodded, silent. As they drove through the city, headlights casting shadows across his reflection. He didn't know why she wanted him, but a quiet pull in his heart urged him forward. In the hospital, she lay frail, tethered to monitors, but her eyes lit up when he entered. "You're here," she whispered, her voice a fragile thread. He shuffled closer, his voice trembling. "I'm sorry I ran. I didn't know what to do after." She smiled faintly. "You did everything, child." Her gaze lingered, her breath catching. "You look so much like her." "Who?" he asked, confused. "My daughter," she said, her voice faltering. "She left me years ago, angry, pregnant, afraid. I never saw her again. I only knew she passed, but not what became of her child." The boy's eyes widened, his breath shallow. "I thought I'd die alone," she continued, tears pooling. "All my wealth, my homes, my titles, Margaret Sterling, they call me, meant nothing." The name struck him like lightning. A magazine lay on a nearby table, her face gracing the cover. Margaret Sterling, heiress to a shipping empire, philanthropist of billions. "You're that lady?" he whispered, awestruck. She nodded weakly. "Money didn't save me. You did." He stepped closer, his voice shaky. "But why me?" Her trembling hand reached for his. "I don't know how you found me," she said, "but I believe fate weaves paths for a reason. Maybe to save, maybe to heal." She paused, her voice dropping to a whisper. "I think you're my great-grandson." The room stilled. The boy stood frozen, his heart a storm of confusion and hope. She brushed a tear from his cheek. "I thought I had no one, but I see my family in your eyes." A nurse entered, holding a folder. "Miss Sterling, the DNA results." She glanced at the boy, stunned. "It's a 98.4% match. He's yours." The boy's gaze darted between them. A billionaire, alone in her world, and a child who'd saved her life on instinct were bound by blood. "I never had a real bed," he whispered, voice cracking, "or birthdays with candles." Her hand tightened around his. "You will now, my dear." Tears spilled down his cheeks, not for her wealth, but for the warmth of being wanted. "You don't have to go to strangers," she murmured. "You're home with me." Weeks later, headlines blazed. "Orphan saves millionaire mid-flight. Discovers she's family." But the boy cared little for the spotlight. What mattered was a crayon drawing taped beside her hospital bed. Two figures hand in hand, one in a gray jacket, one in a sapphire gown, with the words "We found each other" scrawled below. If this touched your heart, give a thumbs up and subscribe to Whirl Tales. Drop a comment telling us where in the world you're watching from. We love hearing from you. Stay compassionate, stay inspired, and keep exploring the beauty of stories.